Hi everyone, it's Sam and I'm back with another video for lawnfawn. Today I am using the new I Like Big Butterfly stamp set, a bug deal, woodgrain stencil, stitch sentiment banners, and the Reveal Wheel die set. And of course I'm going to color in all my images with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I am starting by using mustard and vanilla to color in the little bodies for the butterflies, and then adding light carmine and pale orange for their cheeks. You saw it coming. You knew it was coming. All of the butterflies are colored the same way. I hadn't decided if I was going to color all these butterflies in different colors in a rainbow of order, rainbow on their wings. I do love a rainbow. I always try to sneak one in. But this time I decided that I was going to keep the coloring simple. That's new for me. Usually I, try to make it rainbowy. So I'm just coloring them all basically the same. So I'm using the, soft light browns for the bodies with the pink cheeks. And then I'm going to use pink and pale orange, which is one of my favorite color combinations for zigs, for the parts of the wings. And I'm just using pink. I'm starting with the darkest color in the insides, and then using pale orange on the outside, and then pulling it together. And the reason I do this a little bit differently than how I usually color with zigs, which I'll show you with the leaves because it's a little bit bigger space, is because the pink is, as most reds and very saturated colors are, very easily overtakes the image. So I just use a little tiny bit of pink, and then I put the pale orange down where there is no pink, and then I can kind of blend them together, as opposed to if I started by putting the pale orange directly on the pink to pull it out, it would the whole thing would just be pink, and you wouldn't be able to see like that warm apricot-y color, which I love. So then I'm going to use more pinks. I did show you those, but don't worry, I'm not going to use those. I'm actually going to use light beige and red flamingo. And again, same process here. The red flamingo I'm using just on the inside of the wings, and then pulling it out with the light beige. And I'm stuttering. I'm so sorry. I just went with pinks to keep it simple, but I did want to switch up the pinks, so it was a little bit, a little bit of interest to look at with the eyes. There are a few dots on a couple of the butterflies, and I just used a yellow marker, which I'll show you later, to color in the little dots, just to add a little bit of brightness. And that's the butterflies. Next, I'm going to color the leaves with green, May green, and yellow green is my favorite green combination. And this is how I color most of my images. I start, that one was a mistake. I start by using the darkest shade. I pull it out with the middle shade. Then I use the lightest shade to pull it all out. Then I go in with my slightly damp water brush to kind of make sure they're all blended together and there's no harsh lines between each of the shades. Now this green also happens to be very easily pulled out as far as like it'll take over the whole image. So I am just using a tiny bit of the darkest green, and then the rest of the colors, because it just is so easy to overtake the image. And I love the yellow green because it's such a high contrast from the darkest shade, and so that is, that's one of my favorite things is a big contrast in my images. No surprise. Next, I'm going to color these two little leaves that didn't fit on my original stamped out ones. They have a little bite taken out. I wasn't sure if I was going to use them, but I basically use almost every image here, which is unusual for me. Next, I'm using dark brown and mustard to color in my branches, and again, darkest shade on the edges, pull it out with the mustard, and then blend it all together with a slightly damp water brush. In fact, the only images I don't use is one of the butterflies, which was heartbreaking not to use, but don't worry, I'll save him and use him on a different card. And one of the branches. And as you know, I usually color and stamp more images than I use because I don't plan out very well, but I did end up using almost all of them. The last thing I'm going to color is this little speech bubble. I'm using mustard, yellow, and light yellow, and it's just to add another pop of the bright yellow. And then the coloring's done. Next, I'm going to show you how I die cut my reveal wheel. I die cut it out from white cardstock. I used the little insert to die cut out the little banner area. We'll call it a little semi-banner. So what I did was I used the reveal wheel die, lined it up at that top spot that I had die cut first, held it up to a light so I could see the die through the paper, and then eyeballed where I wanted to place that insert die cut again, taped it and die cut it out, and that's how I got the two different little swoops, as you will. I also die cut out the little arrow and the tiny circle from white cardstock, which is used to make it work and to make it spin. So I'm going to use some distress inks to ink blend onto my card base that I have die cut, and I'm just taping it on, and I'm going to be using Vintage Photo, Fossilized Amber, and Walnut Stain. And I'm just using Fossilized Amber to do the first layer. I'm doing it all over the card front. Then I'm going to be using Vintage Photo just along the edges to kind of make it so it's lighter in the center of the card. And once that's done, I go in with just a whisper of Walnut Stain. It's very dark along the edges. And then I go through all the colors again just to make sure it's nice and saturated. And then I'm going to repeat that process with no stencil. So there it is with no stencil. I think it just becomes so much more magical and tree-like once you add distress inking to the rest of the front. Again, I went all over it with Fossilized Amber, then Vintage Photo along the edges, and then I finished with a little bit of Walnut Stain just on the very close to the edges. And then Fossilized Amber and Vintage Photo for the wheel of the card. And then this is my card base. It's Mermaid cardstock, but I'm just using a little bit of Mermaid Lagoon and Blueprint Sketch Distress inks along the edges just to kind of make it a little bit brighter and so that it matches the saturation and intensity level that I have going on with the rest of the card front. And now I'm going to show you how to put it together. You put the small circle on the back side of your reveal wheel, use a brad to secure it in place, and then add some foam squares just along that little circle that we added. And then you want to flip it over and line up the indentations on that reveal wheel die cut with the windows that were die cut, and then you can place it down on your card base. I just used a spare piece of craft cardstock as my card base, and I'm just testing it to make sure it works a-okay. And while that kind of dries the foam tape on just the tiny circle, I'm heat embossing the sentiment onto some black licorice cardstock that was die cut out with the stitched sentiment banners dies. And now we're going to put the card together. And I tested it, and yep, still works. I'm going to test it, the whole card, because I've been burned by interactive dies before, so I just want to make sure, yeah, it's all still working each step of the way. I'm just adding foam tape to every place that's not going to touch the wheel on that card. It's going to be hidden, so I'm just putting foam tape all over so it's kind of sturdy, and I'm adding some glue because that's me. I have to do all the adhesive all the time. And again, tested it, it still works, and now we're going to put it on our card base. And that's the foundation. Foundation done. And now we're going to just decorate the card. I am putting some foam squares just within the windows. Testing, yep, still moves, doesn't touch the edges, perfect. And now we're going to decorate the rest of the card. I am using the Lawnfawn Jumbo glue pen, and that's it. I won't be popping up anything else with foam tape unless it goes over the edge of the reveal wheel, and then I'll add some foam tape. But other than that, everything's flat on the card. because the reveal wheel mechanism itself is popped up, so I didn't need any more dimension. I still want to be able to send it through the mail. And yeah, I'm just using all my little leaves and butterfly images, using my acrylic block to kind of hold down the images with the glue so that they stay, flush with the cardstock. And I'm just adding a tiny bit of glue to that foam that's on the reveal wheel for my little butterfly. And I love the idea of watching this card come together because it's like these butterflies are, flying around in a forest, and it makes me so happy to see. And look at them, woo, flying. I love that. I'm adding the sentiment. It's going to hang off the edge a little bit, which I don't mind at all. And I'm like, oh, am I done? No, let's add the last of the leaves. So this one's going to go under the reveal wheel. This one's going to go on top. I love how it looks like the butterflies have taken a little bite out of leaves. Question, do butterflies eat leaves? That's a question. I don't know, but they do in this card. I assume. I don't know. Nectar. No, butterflies eat nectar. Well, oh well. My bad. Thanks for learning that with me. And then as I was finishing this card, I decided to add just a little bit of distress ink to my arrow that I was die cut earlier from white cardstock with mowed lawn and twisted citron. I glued it to my card. I'm going to add this tiny speech bubble, which I almost thought wasn't going to make the cut, but I wanted to add it, so there it is. And I'm going to add this to my card base that opens up, and that's it. It's so cute. Of course, I love the pun, "You're so fly," and their butterflies, adorable. And look at them just flying around. Woo! So, I hope you had so much fun making this card with me, and be sure to check it out up on the Lawnfawn blog. Thanks again. Bye.